Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast in association with Riverside Sports Bar, the home of live sport and great food in Newport. I'm Jamie and joining me as always is Gavin Thomas. How are we doing, Gav?
I'm very well, Jamie, very well. It feels like ages since we last spoke, but it's only like actually 2 weeks, but
It does feel like a very long time and quite a bit has happened
a
in that
little.
time. So, yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. And back by popular demand, we have Gav Leclerc. Gav, how are we doing?
All good. Nearly got that elusive victory pod, but wasn't meant to be. But yeah, good to be on.
Yeah, first of all, it's great to hear you because we can actually hear you properly now. You've got a brand new headset. Thanks to the budget, the sponsorship budget. So that's
Yeah,
great. We can hear you nice and clear. Should be
very
no
well
complaint.
received. Thank you.
And as for victory pods, we might have to knock it on the head for this season, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I don't think we're getting another one this season, being brutally
No,
honest.
No.
no, we're not. No. Um, it's been quite the week. There's never a dull moment in Welsh rugby, is there? The knives have been sharpened. That's how it feels. There's been a lot of debate around the future of the Dragons and Welsh rugby. So we got a lot to talk about, and it's going to be a busy pod. So we'll get straight into it. But before we do that, a couple of five-star reviews, starting with Matthew James Rees. He says, Ebu, 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 having a fab season, Gav. Good pod, lads. I mean, they weren't so fab the other night, though, were they, Ebu? Unfortunately, were they, Gav?
Uh, they've had better games this season. The
Yes.
it just felt really odd. No, we'll talk about it a bit later, but just felt like a really weird performance after just dominating, but it just didn't get on top in the forwards, and we're
Mm.
just getting cut apart in the backs. Yeah, it was just a weird performance and not typical of what they've done this season.
No, Drovers are a good team, though, in fairness. But yeah, I was disappointed with that performance.
But
But we
aside,
will,
we've beaten this season as well.
yes.
So
No, absolutely. We will talk about that a bit later. And then Lloyd 2030 over on Apple Podcast says, great podcast. Good talking points raised about Gwent Rugby and offers insight into solutions. Would recommend to a fellow Dragon supporter. Lovely stuff. Thank you both for your kind reviews. And if you want to shout out on the pod, then just leave us a five-star review and we'll give you a mention. That's how it works. Has to be 5 stars. Don't bother with 3 or 4. I'm not going to read them. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe and tell your Dragons mates about this as well, because it'll help us grow the pod. News then, because like I said, it's been a fair bit of news since we last recorded. So Scrum half, Rodri Williams, excellent as well on Saturday, wasn't he? Signed a new deal. The 31-year-old is in his seventh season for the Dragons. That's flown by, isn't it? Seventh season. Since he returned to Wales in 2018, and he's hit double figures for games in every campaign with the Dragons. So yeah, I presume we're all happy with that, aren't we, Rodri staying?
yeah,
Fantastic. Sorry, go on, Gav.
no, I'm just going to say, he's our best scrum half, and Welsh international, probably by default originally, but by right now as well, I'd say.
He did all right off the bench for Wales. Okay, he didn't set the
Mhm.
world on fire, but he didn't do anything wrong either. I thought he was
Mm.
pretty decent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I thought he actually looked international class yesterday as well. Thought he had a really good game Saturday. I think there was a moment where it was either the Hugh Anderson try or Rodri's try himself. And then you know what we're like off kickoffs. Rodri catches it and he boots it 50 yards the one. The next time, I think, off a kickoff, he makes a break, does a 50-22. Really, really showed his class. I'm really glad he's staying and backed up by two good, promising local nines as well. So I think we're pretty well stocked there.
Yeah, absolutely. His kicking game was excellent, wasn't it?
Yeah, really
Rodri's fair
strong.
play. He's really, really good. It probably means that Dane Blacker is moving on. Um, I think that's probably best for both parties, if I'm being honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, exciting young fullback, Hugh Anderson. He signed a new deal. I think we can all agree that Hugh Anderson has been a shining light in a very miserable season, can't we? I was really pleased about this. Again, we'll talk about it later, how fantastic he was against Ulster, but he has been really, really just positive, isn't it? It's just nice to talk about someone coming through and putting in positive performances. There's a lot of talk about him going on the Wales tour to Japan. Um, Great if he does. If not, that's fine. Let's not rush him. But he's a very exciting young talent, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure I said on here about taking him to Japan. I don't see what the harm would be.
He
Except we
looks
need results,
class.
though, don't we? Maybe they might. go a little bit stronger and try and get results. But
Yeah, he wouldn't have to go as first choice 15, would he? But get on tour,
no,
get in the environment, and he is literally a reason to go and buy a ticket and go watch the Dragons at the minute. He's that good. So I'm yeah, really chuffed he's staying because other teams would have been sniffing around
Oh, God,
for
yeah.
sure.
they would
So
have. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
but
it's
the thing
really
is,
promising.
Wales aren't selecting a fullback at fullback anyway, are they? They're selecting Blaine Murray as a winger, and it's quite clear that he's a winger because he doesn't play like fullback.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Anderson's definitely got the tools to make it. He's the spark we've missed in that back line. Looks top draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting young talent. So that's good news. And then departures. Tane Basham's move to Cardiff has been officially confirmed. Look, we knew this was on the cards, didn't we? Best of luck to Tane. I am disappointed to lose him, especially a Gwent boy, just going down the road to Cardiff. I wish he'd gone to any other club bar Cardiff, if I'm being brutally honest. I think he would have been fantastic in the English Premiership. You know, and he had a lot of interest, didn't he, from like half the league. I think he'd be brilliant for someone like Leicester or Saracens. I think he would have been really good for. And he was linked to the Scarlets for a long time as well. So I don't know what happened there. That didn't seem to materialise. But he's gone to Cardiff and wish him all the best. Any final thoughts on Tane's departure? Well, somebody said this was a devastating blow. This is what someone said to me on Twitter the other day. This was before the Bedell sign in mind, which we'll talk about in a bit. How do we feel about Tane moving on? Is it devastating for us?
It's disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, like you say, is he Talawine? He's from Pontypool way.
Yeah.
You know, he's Valley's boy, Gwent boy. Good player, really good player. What I would say about Tane, though, is he doesn't excel in any one area. I think he's great. He's an all-rounder. He can break the game line, good tackler, good defensively. But there's not one part of his game you would say he excels at.
Gareth?
I am gutted to see him go. Before this news, I would have been championing him to be in that Welsh squad and fight his way back in because I think he does offer in that carrying game. But I think for the Dragons, whilst he has been good, he sort of plays his own game, goes off and does his own thing. Does he always play to the system? Sometimes is he is he coachable? I'm not sure. Um, and it is offset by good signings. It's sad to lose him. He's our player, and like you said, to go to Cardiff, that's the disappointing part. I would have liked to have watched him. I'd have tuned in to watch him if he's playing in the Gallagher. I won't enjoy watching him for Cardiff at all. But it's not the end of the world. It's one player at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We've lost players before. We move on. And next season, if we had retained him, would he be in our first choice back row with the players we're signing? I'm not so sure.
And I think for me as well, it's about balance of back row, and I've said this a million times on the pod, but having a balanced back row is the absolute key. And I don't know where he fits in the balanced back row because he's not the out and out like shithouse like a Shane Lewis Hughes is. He's not a seven in the classical sense because his kind of Jacqueline, his ruck game isn't as strong as that. And whilst he is probably an explosive runner, I don't think he always makes the game line as much as he could do because some of his decision making is erratic.
Mm, it's fair enough. I've always been a fan of Tane. I remember when he
No,
was
he's a
playing for
great player.
Crosskeys and when he made his debut for us against the Scots back in 2018. I wish him all the best, but I'm excited about a couple of signings. So I think this does soften the blow, and I'll talk about that in a bit. So first, the new signings that's been officially confirmed, Dylan Lewis. So he's returning to Wales after being signed by the Dragons. The 29-year-old has spent 2 seasons at Harlequins. He's made 28 appearances for them so far. He's out injured at the moment. So, of course, that's on brand with the Dragons recruitment strategy, isn't it?
Has he had
Tight-headed.
a medical?
We need to do an assessment. So tight head, as we know, that's an area the Dragons needed to strengthen after the retirements of Lloyd Fairbrother, who we really miss, and Leon Brown. And we are also expecting South African Robert Hunt to join us from the Cheetahs. But this is very much a punt. He is way down the pecking order with Cheetahs. I think he's only played like 3 or 4 games for them. So we have no idea how that's going to go. But Dylan Lewis, so this is a signing which has got a mixed reaction with our fan base. Some of the comments I saw on Facebook were just outrageously stupid. This is a guy with 57 Wales caps. And look, don't get me wrong, I wasn't a huge fan of him when he was at Cardiff, but he's gone to Harlequins. He's worked with good coaches. He's worked with Adam Jones. So you'd expect his scrummaging to improve. He's worked with Danny Wilson. He's putting good shifts for Wales. He's very good at the breakdown and he's a good carrier, puts himself about. I don't think we could do better than Dylan Lewis. I know there's some Dragons fans who think we could have. I don't think we could have personally, and I'm quite satisfied with this signing. Gavin, your thoughts?
I totally agree with what you're saying, basically. Have I always been the most vocal fan of Dylan Lewis? No. Having said on Rock and Roll when I've appeared on that in the past, not a fan of his scrummaging. But let's be realistic. Who are we getting that's better than him? A 57 cap international, who, like you say, is good at the breakdown. And you can actually coach people to scrummage well. You can't coach people to be 57 cap internationals. Mind you, I did see someone who said, well, why aren't we getting Ty Furlong? Uh, let me explain the numerous reasons why that's not going to happen.
Oh, some of the comments. My favorite one was someone said, "Why are we signing players past their best? Towards the end of their career. He's 29. He's not even 30 yet, Dylan Lewis. What are you on about, you twat?"
He looked 40 when he was 22, so, he's just one of those players.
But he's not even 30. And someone
No,
else said it on Twitter as well. Like, what are you guys on about? Like,
And
uh,
for a prop, perfect
yeah,
age.
exactly.
The next few years, he's hitting his prime. I'm pretty happy with that signing. I think it's actually better than I expected. He's got more international caps than all of our other props put together.
Yeah,
That is you have to be at a certain level to play it internationally. He's done it 57 times. He's a very, very good club player. I feel in Wales, the opinion of him is I think he suffered from the same sort of things that Brown did, that he was thrust into the Wales team at such a young age where he hadn't developed his scrummaging to the level it became. And that reputation never really sort of left him. Brown's scrummaging was always questioned, even when it improved. I think Dylan Lewis
yeah,
is the same because he did break into the Wales team so young. I think he gets a bit of a hard time for it. I'm happy with it. If he can stay fit, that is a big addition to our tight end stock. Very pleased.
yeah. And I did see another comment from someone. I'm not going to name him, but they did say he's no better than what we got. Come on now. Come on now. With all due respect to the props that we have, are you seriously telling me Dylan Lewis, 50 plus caps for Wales, experienced guy, is not better than what we got right now at tight end?
well,
Well,
uh,
Come
would
on.
be
Dylan Lewis.
surprised if any of
Sorry.
them had one cap, wouldn't we? Sorry, Gav. We'd be
No, no,
surprised
it's
if
fine,
they got a cap, let alone 57 times. So,
Yeah.
and it also he can help bring those props on.
Yeah.
I thought Coleman had a good shift Saturday.
He's playing well recently. Even I've got to admit that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought he did, but it's not. He shouldn't be our first choice tight end,
No.
No,
and next season he won't be. And let's hope, working with Dylan Lewis, we're hoping Wyn Jones will be announced. That can bring on his scrummaging as well. We said before, do they know what good looks like? Well, if you're going to be practicing your scrummaging against Wyn Jones, British Lion, you are going to know what it looks like. He will tell you. So
and,
it can only be good for us.
and that's the point, isn't it? If we get Wyn Jones, you've got a front row of Wyn Jones, Elliot D, and Dylan Lewis.
That's not bad, is it?
Take that.
It's better than what we've got now. No offense to any of the players we've got now, but you want your signings to be upgrades. That's two upgrades.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm satisfied with it. Like I said, I don't think Dragons are going to get better than Dylan Lewis. Have I always been a fan of him? No.
No,
But I think for us, I think this is a decent signing. I really do. So, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that one. So, the day after the announcement of Tane Basham's departure, Dragons teased on their socials that they had signed a new seven. And we all thought it was going to be Thomas Young, didn't we? We're thinking, yeah, because that makes sense. Cardiff has signed Tane Basham. That's what's been announced. And we're going to announce Thomas Young. Fine. But no, it wasn't Thomas Young. Instead, we announced that we had signed Wales under-20s captain Harry Beddle from Leicester Tigers on a long-term deal. Beddle, as we know from watching the under-20s Six Nations, was outstanding. He made 34 tackles in Wales's win over Ireland here at Ronnie Parade. His Wales teammate Harry Thomas described him as an absolute freak of nature. I don't know about you, Gareth, but to me, this felt like a statement signing because I really didn't see this coming. And it's one of those signings where everybody agreed it was good. We didn't get any negative comments from our fan base. We attracted a few salty comments from some Cardiff fans and other supporters, which is
Yeah.
great. Love to see that. I was really, really pleased with this. I didn't see it coming. What were your thoughts? Well, I know you was happy from the voice note that you left me
I
on the
I
WhatsApp.
couldn't believe it because yeah, the Dragons always tease it. Yeah, announcement coming 6 o'clock, I think, and there was the sign when they're 7, and you're like, right, it's obviously going to be Thomas Young, and I couldn't contain myself. I was voice noting everyone. I was literally cheering. I was just so shocked. It completely blindsided me. I was so shocked. I was over the moon. An absolutely fantastic addition to the squad. We lack leaders, and he is a future leader. Obviously, he's captaining the under-20s now. We've had Ackerman captain them last year, Woodman the year before.
Yeah.
We've got a nucleus of core young leaders. That's a really good group to bring through. I was just so pleased with it. Absolutely buzzing. We do lack leadership, and it's great that a player of his quality can see his future development at Rodney Parade. I think that sends a big message with certain murmurings out there that a player of his quality, captain in a successful campaign for the under-20s, to go, yeah, my future's at Rodney Parade. That's what I believe is best for me. When anyone would have wanted to sign him, he's great. And yeah, to see a few other fans a bit annoyed,
Oh, there
and
were some salty comments,
which is
especially from Cardiff fans and a
yeah,
couple of Ospreys and Scarlets. It was delicious. Love to see
uh,
that.
yeah. And Gav, you've mentioned balance, haven't you, on the back
Yeah.
row, and an out-and-out 7. That is what we've been crying out for.
Well, the thing that sticks in my head, so I play a couple of my mates I play with are Tigers fans, and one of them sends me a message when this came out saying, "How have you got him?" Because Tigers fans really rate him. Tigers fans, were imagining he was going to come into the first team reckoning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
I'm going to read you something that Richard Whiffen, so he's the head coach of Wales under-20s. This is what he said about Harry Beddle. He said he's outstanding. Beds is a quiet bloke in and around the environment, but he leads by example. He's got hold of the leadership group, and the vibe we have between coaches and players is because of him. He's someone the players want to play for. I'm proud of him. That's a
He's an
very good
athlete as well.
endorsement, isn't it? That's one hell of an endorsement. So
He,
we know he's a leader and we know he's a workhorse at the breakdown, something which we haven't got. Let's be honest about, we don't have that. As much as I like Tane's qualities was his ball carrying. He is not the fetcher at the breakdown. He doesn't do the nuts and bolts of a 7. This guy's got everything, leadership and his breakdown abilities are so good. So I'm really excited by this.
Absolutely. And it shows as well that there are things going right at the Dragons, despite on-field results.
Yes,
So
some,
it's
but yeah.
yeah, it is. I know it's not what, we don't see it because it is behind the scenes, but things are going in the right direction. That it is a statement signing, and you're right, he's a great breakdown threat. And yeah, we have lacked a leader. Tane's probably the opposite of a leader, playing his own game. He's not
Yeah.
got that quality. So to bring someone in on the flank with that leadership, and I know Thomas Young hasn't been announced yet, but as a pair of open sides, couldn't ask for any more. Very, very happy.
it's two genuine open sides, which, and yeah, I know the game is changing, and I know I'm old-fashioned, but you want the 7 who's a fetcher and carrier, and what I really like about Bedlow, what I've seen of him in the under-20s, he's just genuinely athletic. He's like a less evil Sam Warburton.
Yeah, his stats are out of this world. So he's first for tackles made, 103. He's first for attacking rucks hit, 131. He's first for defensive rucks hit, 55, and he made 6 turnovers in the tournament.
Awesome.
He's some player, this kid. And I don't know how we've got him, but I think we're very lucky to have
And
him.
he's from Cardiff as well, isn't
He is. Yeah.
he?
Yes, he is.
Fantastic. Obviously, sees a
Absolutely.
better future at the Dragons, doesn't he? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Moving on then. Okay, we need to talk about this because this has been a big debate in Wales right now, sparked by a Cardiff board member. So, Sam Warburton, we all know what Sam said on TV. That was the clip that was doing the rounds on social media. But his comments actually went further when he spoke on the Rugby Union Weekly podcast. So this is what he said. If we're looking at this from a commercial perspective, then Cleffley are struggling furthest west. They are going to struggle to generate the commercial income that might be needed. But I don't think it should be them because I think it should be judged on performance on the field and the amount of players who come through and play for the national team. If you're doing that, then it's blatantly obvious it's the Dragons. Nobody wants to say it, but it's the Dragons. And look, I feel for the Dragons now. He says, I've got friends who play for the Dragons. It's interesting. So I got friends that play for the Dragons. I mean, I'd be questioning my friendship with someone who wants me to lose my job and the organization that I work for. But anyway, I've got friends who play for the Dragons. Some great players have come from there, but they perform poorly, consistently, the worst Welsh region over the last 20 years. And they produce by considerable amount the fewest players to the national team. It's nothing personal, Dragons fans. I'm just going off evidence. So that's what he said on the podcast. I had my say on Warburton's comments on the Rat Pod last week. I'm not going to regurgitate everything I said, but look, my argument was this. I basically said that Warburton is paid to give opinions, and that's fine. However, the problem I have with this is that Sam Warburton is not just a pundit, he's a Cardiff Rugby board member.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the problem. This is where the conflict of interest comes in. So he's speaking from a position here of self-interest. He knows full well that Cardiff are safe. They are the capital city team. They're not going anywhere. If Cardiff's future was in any doubt, there's no way he's going to be coming out and saying this stuff. And I appreciate that some people will agree with Sam Warburton. You know, I got friends whose opinions I respect. They agree with what Sam said. But with Welsh rugby right now being at the crossroads, and at the time when everyone in Welsh rugby needs to work together for the greater good, I just think it's a very bad look for a director of a region to be advocated for another region to be cut. I think it's unprofessional. It reeks of self-interest and self-entitlement. And that's where Warburton has fallen down in my estimation. If he was a pundit saying this, he had no connection to Cardiff, he was just purely speaking as a pundit, that's fine. That's his opinion. I don't agree with it. I don't like it, but he's entitled to that. But as a Cardiff board member, that just reeks of self-interest. And the same goes for Ron Jones at the Scarlets. So Ron Jones came out and said, we need to cut a team. He didn't name the Dragons, in fairness, but again, he's on the board of directors at the Scarlets, Lefty Scarlets. It's not right. It's not right. And that's the problem I have with this. We all need to be working together in Welsh Rugby. We're trying to get this new PRA signed and sealed, and these comments are not helpful. And some comments just need to be kept in the boardroom. That was my opinion. That was my take on it. So, Gareth, I know you're not happy with Sam's comments, are you? We've had this conversation. So, Sam's opinion is, yeah, we got to give it the Dragons. That's going to make Welsh Rugby better. It's nothing personal, but, you know, I got friends with the Dragons, but it has to be the Dragons that needs to be cut. What was your thoughts on Warburton's comments in the week?
Yeah, absolute rage. I mean, Welsh Rugby Union have come out and said it's is it One Wales is the new slogan for the new strategy moving forward.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know what the people like Abutini and the other board members think of Warburton's comments when that is meant to be a united front moving forward, and they've declared we're definitely sticking to 4 teams. So he's undermined the people he's meant to be working with. So that's absolutely embarrassing for a start. He should be stepping down from his position, making these comments. On the producing less players, first of all, we've produced our share. We have produced players for Wales. It also doesn't help when other regions over the years have been overspending and poaching our players. And then, okay, when they're playing for Wales, like when Dan Lydiot was at the Ospreys or Fallatown now at Cardiff, these are players we produced, not anyone else. And also, somebody has to produce the least. So if you get rid of us, in a couple of years, do you go, Scarlets have produced the least now? Because someone has to. Get rid of them. It's not a valid reason, and it's not a competition. Everyone is doing their share. We produce plenty of good rugby players. I think Sam Warburton's comments are based on absolutely zero evidence. it's embarrassing that a public figure can be so damning. You could have any of the region's employees go into work on Monday. They might have very big meetings with sponsors. How are you walking into that meeting trying to secure massive sponsorship deals when a massive public figure and, like you mentioned, a Cardiff board member has gone and he's lobbying to cut a region? So it's massively damning to potential income. He also, some of the things he spouted, he mentioned there's currently 24 million being shared between the four regions. Why not share that 24 million between three regions? Well, Sam, if you cut a region, there wouldn't be 24 million pounds to share because some of the money that, if the Dragons were cut, we get is from participation in the URC. Well, if we're not participating in it, there's no money to spread around the other regions. If some of that money as well is sponsorship. So again, if we don't exist, that sponsorship doesn't exist. So that's not getting spread around the other regions. You also lose gate receipts, etc. And the other regions are probably losing one of their biggest gates of the season as well. Let alone the fact that we're isolating a massive rugby population in Wales again. Um, I think David Buttress, who fair play to him, got straight on the radio the next morning to right some wrongs. Said, "Why are we trying to cut our way to growth? That isn't the way forward," which is a strong argument. I think ultimately it's embarrassing, and I would even be embarrassed if I was a Cardiff fan to have someone from your board trying to isolate what, we should have friendly competitiveness with our regions. I think Sam Warburton should be stepping down. I think he's embarrassed himself. I think he's embarrassed Cardiff. And I never want to see him on my screen ever again.
Gavin,
Is what's the problem with Welsh rugby? It's a structural failure of the Welsh Rugby Union. It's a structural failure of the Welsh Rugby Union to offer appropriate funding and coaching that means the Welsh game has developed over time. That's a real problem. You look at what happens in Ireland. Yeah, there's money there, but there's also structures and pathways and systems, all of which work because they give them time and effort and money. That's the problem. We all agree that's the problem. Sam Warburton, on the other hand, thinks the way to solve a structural problem is to take something that's nothing to do with the structure and remove it. It would be like me saying, right, I've got this broken coffee garden table outside. I know how I'm going to fix that. I'm going to saw a leg off a chair because it's got nothing to do with that problem. It's got absolutely nothing to do with that problem. He's talking about a privately owned business. And, and the thing is, as well, you look into what it takes to close a viable business. The owners would be able to say, well, we've probably, conservative estimate, we've got 30 years business left in us. We make this much money. We want 30 times this much money. Well, so the WRU are going to be able to fund 30 years worth of money to the owners of Dragons Club. No, of course it wouldn't. It's, it's somebody saying, I'm going to say something because I want to get my voice out there, not thinking about what they're actually saying. It's just idiocy.
but what about his position as a Cardiff Rugby board member? Because when we discussed this on the Rat Pod, Nick, who is an Osprey supporter, he said, well, if he feels that strongly about going down to three teams, he needs to step down because Cardiff have agreed to four teams.
Yeah.
They haven't officially signed a PRA yet because that's got to be put to their members in an EGM, but they have agreed to it. So if he feels that strongly, why don't he step down from his duties as a Cardiff board member? Because let's be honest, he's barely at the Arms Park to watch Cardiff anyway because he's too busy commentating for TNT Sports in the Gallagher
It,
Premiership.
it's not even something uh, he should be saying about. It's, I'm going to give you a really low rent example, right? I I am on the competitions committee for my local RFU, right?
This
And
is
I,
very low rent
oh
already, I
yeah,
love
no, yeah,
it. Okay,
and I organise caps,
yeah.
but I'm also a board member at one of the constituent clubs. Whenever my club's competitions are up, I'm not involved. I don't do the cup draw for my club. I have nothing to do with the league for my club. I have nothing to do with any because there is a conflict of interest. So me who's doing this for nothing can work that out. But Sam Warburton, who's on a decent whack for his work on TV, putting his club interest first. No,
Yeah,
it's
it's the
wrong.
self-interest, isn't it? That's
You
the
said
problem.
entitlement, and it's that. It's, oh, we don't value this club as much as others. Why not? I don't value Cardiff as much as you do, mate. So what value have Cardiff got that we don't have?
Exactly. And to just base it on past performance as well, it's well, actually, we're looking forward now as a club. We're in a really strong position off the field. We've got all our ducks in a row, and now we are building for the future. Cardiff seem to be in a bit more of a mess, and it almost seems like desperation, trying to throw grenades out there, and
Oh,
it's absolutely embarrassing. I just think we now more than ever, Wales really needs to show a united front. We
Yeah,
know we're going to be
exactly.
sticking with four regions. I do not want to see any region go. I'm not going to say, yeah, don't cut the Dragons, cut someone else. Do not cut a region. We need four regions. I want them to be funded properly. And I want everyone in Wales to be buying into the game in Wales and going over and enjoying it, and for kids to have a region to aspire to play for. And Sam Warburton, as a public figure, completely undermines that and has undermined his employers. He has to go.
the problem is, well, is regions. We didn't do regions properly when we had the chance. We essentially went down the big club route, and this is the thing as well. Okay, cut the region. Essentially, we've got Cardiff, Leicester, Swansea, and Newport. And I'm all right with let's stop calling them regions anymore. Let's just be honest about what we've got. We've got clubs in our major cities and Llanelli. I'm not
They're pro
no,
teams, yeah.
yeah,
To be
you know,
fair, I think Buttress does say we're a club with regional responsibilities.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what they are, yeah.
and I think that's it is. Kind of we, as a club, represent Gwent
Yeah.
and these the valleys. It's it's not hard to work out, and the whole regional thing. We missed that boat. Regional rugby could have existed if people had been braver 20 years ago, but they weren't.
Yeah.
So
But
this
Gwent
is
is
where we are.
no, you're quite right. Gwent is a hotbed of rugby talent, as we all know. We have more rugby clubs in our region than any other, and to not have a pro team there would kill it. They really would. The thing about Warburton as well, he talks about us being poor over the years. But what he fails to do, he fails to mention the fact that Dragons had the lowest playing budget out of all the Welsh regions, excluding salary caps. So when we didn't have salary caps, we were always the poor relations. And that's because we were the lowest funded pro team. And look, we didn't have a Peter Thomas pumping millions into the club like Cardiff had. We didn't have a Mike Cuddy or a Rob Davis splashing the cash like the Ospreys had and was able to build a Galacticos team. And we never had a group of benefactors like the Scarlets had. Brown and Hazel invested very little into the Dragons for whatever reason. Maybe they just didn't have the spending power as the other benefactors, but we just haven't had the money to compete. And he talks about us producing fewer international players. And okay, perhaps we haven't produced as much as the other three, but we still managed to produce Welsh internationals on a shoestring budget. And I think we could be very proud of that. And we have a good contingent of players at age grade level as well. Something else which people just don't talk about. We've had more players in the Wales under 20 squad recently than both Cardiff and Ospreys. Recent captains Ryan Woodman, Harry Ackerman, they're Dragons boys. There is so much young talent in Gwent.
And and the metrics they're using just are pointless. And Gareth hit the nail on the head, and you did as well, actually, Jamie. Just saying, right, we're going to cut a region. So if you pick it randomly, just so I'm just going to pick someone off my list, Reece. Just right, you're a kid, you play for Riska. They cut dragons. Who are you going to aspire to play for? You'll aspire to play for Riska first team, but if you were better than that, who do you aspire to play for? If you live in Riska, you've got no connection to Cardiff. You've got no real reason to
Well,
want to play for
you're not
Cardiff.
going to get a Cardiff player go to a Risker Awards night, are you?
No, well, why would they? Because they're different places, and as call it what you want, call it super clubs, call it regions, call it wherever. They capture for the four key rugby playing cultures of Wales. The Western Valleys, the Southwestern Valleys and cities, the Central Valleys and Eastern Valleys and the cities. And all of those deserve representation because they're all the things which have created Welsh rugby for the last 100 odd years.
Yeah,
And what's that,
absolutely.
Sam? North Wales? No, mate. No. Because there's like 5 clubs up there. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. Warburton says something else really strange as well. He said, I've got 20 years of evidence the four regions doesn't work. And I just thought that was really strange because when Wales were winning Grand Slams, when Wales were winning Six Nations Championships, reaching World Cup semi-finals, and were number 1 in the world rankings, I didn't hear Sam Warburton or anyone saying four regions didn't work then.
No.
But now Wales aren't winning, the regions aren't working,
And he was
and it's
happy
the
to take
Dragons have to be cut.
he was happy to take Cardiff's paycheck for all that time as well.
Mm.
You know, so all regions weren't working. I'll happily take the money though. And and we were winning Pro 14s.
Well,
I
the
almost
regions have been
feel like,
successful, yeah.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
not us personally, but Welsh regions were.
these comments should be coming from like an old man in a home. They make no sense. And he's recently retired from the game and hugely involved in rugby. It's
You,
absolutely baffling. There's no evidence to back up any of his points. It's
you
it's just an absolute disgrace.
you know what it is though, don't you? Every club, not just in Wales, every rugby club in the country has got this bloke. They've been around forever. They're in a blazer, and you try not to catch their eye line because you know they'll talk to you. But sometimes they'll capture you, they'll catch you, and they go, "I tell you what it is, see." And then you're there for 20 minutes listening to the ramblings of a lunatic.
No, it's fair enough. Sam Warburton does have a history of backtracking on opinions, though. And I'll give you some examples. So he wanted a pro team in North Wales. You just mentioned that, Gav. Now he's
Lunatic.
backtracked on that and admitted the Wales can't afford another team. So all those years he was calling for a pro team in North Wales, he's now finally admitted we can't afford it. Whereas I think we all could have told him that from the minute he said it, to be honest. But
It-
that's something he's backtracked on. What else he backtracked on? Anglo-Welsh League. So Sam has been very vocal about this in his Times column and on the BBC. Now he admits that England doesn't need us. So he's finally admitted that. He wanted promotion and relegation in the Six Nations. Then he backtracked on that, saying it wasn't viable. Then he said he wanted 7 nations. And now he's changed his mind again, saying Wales versus Georgia, Six Nations playoff would be, and I quote, amazing. So if Wales had this playoff with Georgia and we lost, I don't think that would be amazing, Sam, because that would financially cripple the game in Wales. And instead of having England and Ireland coming to the Principality Stadium, we'd be having Romania and Spain. It would kill the game, including your
oh,
beloved Cardiff.
and don't forget those giants of the world game, Belgium.
Exactly. He recently blamed the media for clickbait and saying they weren't doing enough to promote the safety of head injuries. Um, he received a big backlash from this, from Progressive Rugby and from Melanie Bramwell Popham, who is Alex Popham's wife, who said that Warburton's comments were, and I quote, misinformed and uneducated. Gavin, what was your thoughts on what Warburton said about grassroots being very, very safe and blaming media for clickbait?
he's he's confused. I'm going to be polite because it's not. It's not safe because by the very nature of the game, it's a contact sport, and people get hit in the head. And you think of so the problem is though in the pro game, there's systems. You've got these gum shields that tell you if there's an impact. You've got trained professionals who are there who can deal with it, who can make the checks, who can make a decision to send someone instantly to hospital. Uh, you're playing second team rugby somewhere up in the Eastern Valleys, right? It's a Wednesday night. It's a floodlit game. There's 4 people there. You have a massive head collision. Is that safe? Is it going to be the people who can check on you? Are there people there who are monitoring? No, they're not.
Yeah. No,
And
you're right.
you might think, oh well, this feels weird, but I've got to go to work tomorrow. So you go to work, you don't think about it. No, the grassroots game isn't safe, and it needs to be made safer. And it is getting better. I think 20 years ago, if I bang my head, people would be like, get on with it. And now people are like, no, you get off the field. But it's the aftercare that's important as well. And the Alex Popham has talked about this, saying the thing is, people weren't checking up on me 2 or 3 days later,
Yeah.
which
No,
is
it's a good
when
point.
you need to be doing that. It's
No.
it's not safe, and it's foolish.
Yeah. But those are just some examples. Why am I saying all that? It's because it's a reminder to us all that great players don't always have great opinions. So maybe we should take some of what he says with a massive pinch of salt. Although I did think it was interesting when he was talking about cutting the team. He talked about if we're looking at it from a commercial perspective, you singled out the Scarlets. Now, I don't want any team to be cut, but isn't it interesting that we never have this debate, do we? It's always about results. Why is it always based then on results about cutting the team? Why aren't we having this conversation from a commercial and logistical perspective? Is it because the elephant in the room is, so we all know this, the Dragons are the only team to actually own their own ground and carrying very little debt. We are in the strongest position of any pro team in Wales. Is it that you think that people don't want to have that conversation? It's much easier to just look at results and go, yeah, get rid of the Dragons.
But I don't know. I think it was on one of the Facebook groups. Uh, Someone, or it might have been on Twitter. I'm very rarely on social media now, so I forget where I've seen stuff. And someone saying, well, the WR missed the opportunity. They should never have let Dragons go into public ownership, and they should have just sold Rodney Parade.
That was
Uh,
Andy Howe. That was on X.
uh,
Who's always
uh,
been a bit of a knob, to be honest. But
yes.
yeah, he
Oh,
did
yeah,
say that.
that's how it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, 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 uh,
Just an
But that
easy
was never the
target, isn't we?
intention. That was never the intention. When the WRU took over the Dragons, the intention was to babysit until they found a buyer because Martin Phillips, I think it was Nigel Walker as well, said at the time, talked about Gwent Rugby being,
Yeah.
a hotbed and having the most rugby clubs, and they couldn't see it go to the wall. Obviously, yes, there was a conflict of interest. I understood why some supporters weren't happy about it, but I do think it was the right thing to do. And there was allegations that we've received all this extra funding from the WRU, which has proven to be absolute bollocks. David Buttress debunked that on our podcast. Abby Tierney has debunked that. Even the Dragon Supporters Club recently put out a statement, but yeah, there are some supporters who are spreading just unfounded allegations that we received all this extra money from the WRU. Well, if we did, where's it gone? Where's it gone? Because it didn't go into the team deal. Where did it go? So yeah, I just think it's really interesting. It does feel like, I don't know about you boys, but it felt like the knives were really sharpening for us this week. I've heard other podcasts as well suggesting we should be a development region. And then there was just talk about tiered funding. So Gareth Davis, who used to be Dragons chairman, remember? He was saying that when he was chairman of the WRU that he wanted to bring in tiered funding. Um, how does that improve the Dragons, keeping us poorer? Because I heard this on another podcast. Oh, well, Dragons have always been a poor relation, so what difference does it make? So you criticize us for our results, but then you want to keep us poor. So we're going to be poorer. So how does that make us improve? And
Also, all these regions have bought this success and carry a lot of debt because of it. We're going to finish in the black this year, do we think? So just anyone can rack up debt. I could have a Lamborghini on my drive if I want to have loads of debt. Like it doesn't. It's just irrelevant. And if you don't mind me jumping back to one thing you said about Warburton as well, lobbying for that Georgia playoff game. I wonder what would happen if I was out in the public eye lobbying for things that would potentially cripple my employer.
yeah,
I wonder what the WRU are thinking about this. I mean, how is his position attainable? I just
but
can't
people do
sort of.
agree with him though, Gav. That's the thing. He is highly respected, and I've got a lot of respect for Sam Warburton. And we met him in person. He's a nice guy. I mean, I don't respect the stuff he's coming out with, but there will be people who listen to him and go, "Yeah, Sam's right."
Yeah,
yeah,
people will, but the WRU, the people who know what's going on, they they should be having some strong words with him behind the scenes if
but
not getting rid of him.
he's criticizing the press for clickbait, but he's the audio equivalent of clickbait. Oh, we should have a playoff in the Six Nations. It's not happening, mate. No one's
No.
voting for that.
Yeah.
But as long as I have apertures in my body, it's not happening. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
because I, I'm a, I'm the Italian rugby president. Oh, do you want to do this thing where there's a chance where we could cripple your organization? No, mate, I'm fine. You know, and that's the thing. Who's going to vote for it? Well, Georgia will
Exactly.
vote for it. Belgium will vote for it. Of course they bloody will. No one else will. Of
the home union sprint. It's just total nonsense. And
course they won't.
I said it, mind, when everyone was calling for Italy to be cut and they wanted a playoff then. And I always stuck up for Italy. I said, no, this is not right. I don't believe in promotion and relegation for Six Nations. I know it's a popular opinion, but I'm a big believer in if it's not broke, why fix it?
And
There's no need to do it. It's a great product.
Exactly.
the gap's too big. The gap is too big, right? I have seen Belgium versus Holland international games,
Hmm.
right? I'm telling you now, you're not comparing like to like.
Well,
Georgia are a good team and they've won the Rugby
At a
Europe Championship quite a number of times
at
now.
a
So
canter, at a
yeah.
canter, because they're considerably better than anyone else.
Hmm.
Even in our current state, I think Wales would beat Georgia.
well, they had their chance, and we put our second team out against them in the World Cup, and we done them.
Yeah, even in our said current state, I think we would beat Georgia.
Yeah.
What we would do to someone like Belgium would be painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and would not help rugby. Us scoring 100 points against a team would not help rugby at that level, which is what would happen. I guarantee it.
Yeah, but it's mad that the debate that Sam has sparked now, coming out as a Cardiff board member talking about all this stuff. Like, I heard people talking about development region in the
But
week. And we've had this now for the past 8, 9 years. And I say to those people again, who do you think is going to buy into a development region? How do you sell season tickets if you're classed as a development region? How do you attract sponsors if you are a
uh,
development region? Who's
Well,
going to pay week in, week out for
you're
that?
taking away the hope. And
Yeah.
okay, we've been bad, but I've got hope. We always say it's the hope that kills us, but there is hope there. And if you take away hope, what's the point? And if anything good has come from that bloke who used to play seven for Wales' comments, then I've really
Martin
refound my
Williams.
love for the yeah,
Robin Soden Taylor.
yeah.
But
They're all above him now in the pecking order. It's rekindled my absolute love for the Dragons that somebody's actually come out and attacked us, and I think, hang on a minute now. It's like I can say my brother's annoying, but someone else can't, and we
That's the
can
thing, see, isn't
we
it?
can
It's
moan
like
about us,
people
but
say it's shit, they're rubbish. But you're like, yeah, but it's my shit.
yeah, it's my
I don't
shit.
want you
Don't
slagging off. Like people
yeah,
do it to Newport. Oh, Newport's a shithole, but it's my shithole.
yeah.
It's my town.
exactly. And
You
I'm
know,
I'm proud to be from Newport, and I'm very proud to be a Dragons fan. And if anything, it's reignited my fire and my love for the Dragons. Yeah, so that's the
the de
one mild positive out of it.
the development thing as well, right? They say, oh, Ireland do it. No, Ireland haven't had development regions for 15 years.
Yeah.
Connacht. Yeah, but they use Connacht as an example. They had a massive uplift in their funding,
They
Connacht,
did because
and they were able to bring in Pat Lam. They bring in some good overseas signings. They
and
didn't
won
do
the
it on a
Pro
shoestring.
14.
Yeah,
They
they
Yeah,
won the
won the
Pro
league.
14
or Pro 12, I
because,
think it was, wasn't
oh,
it? But
Pro
yeah,
12, yeah,
yeah.
because Ireland stopped doing the development thing and said, right, we'll uplift everyone. You can
Yeah.
bring your own funding in. Bundy Aki plays at Connacht because he gets paid a wage and gets in the Ireland team. So,
Hmm.
oh, we should go down the development region. No one else does that now.
No.
Everyone else does it at the same level. It is nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely bonkers. Like I said, it just feels like every Tom, Dick, and Harry has been wanting to pop at the Dragons. It's made me a bit annoyed. It has made me a little bit angry. But it comes back, and I always say this, we got to start winning games though, haven't we?
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
we can talk all we want to about the region, the potential, the amount of clubs we got, and all this stuff, how good we are off the field. The fact of the matter is, you are not going to silence your critics. You are not going to shut people up unless you start winning games. This is what the Dragons need to start doing. And I just wonder, do they use this as motivation, the Dragons? Because we're not privy to what's happening behind the scenes. But if it was me, I'd be saying to the players, look, there's a debate around our future. lads, we really got to step up now and start winning games. Do you ever think they used the criticism? Because Philo was asked about Warburton's comments in the week, and his opinion was, I don't have an opinion. There was no explanation as to why he didn't agree with Warburton. It was a massive cop out, if I'm being honest. I would have liked Philo to have said, look, we've got some young talent coming through talking about Gwent and the importance of the Dragons in the community and all this stuff. And he didn't do it. He just went, I don't have an opinion. I just thought, for fuck's sake, that's such a cop out. No, this. What do you think? Do you think this being used as motivation, or are we just sort of sticking our fingers in our ears and go, oh, we don't read the media, so.
I think they've deliberately said, we're just going to cut some of the noise out. We're not going to worry about it. But
But maybe they should, Gav. Maybe they
cool,
should address
no,
it.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you, Jamie. I
Yeah.
was going to say, I think the decision has been made to say we're just going to cut the noise out. That's not what we're going to focus on. But if you're in an organisation which lots of people criticise, and I have experience of that, you do, whether or not people say we aren't going to listen to it, you still listen to it, you still hear it. And if people aren't focusing on going, right, this is what this means, we're going to do this, it doesn't help. And Philo, bless him, is terrible at media.
He's so dull, isn't he? Can we just be honest about this, right? As much as we love Philo and we've got a lot of respect for him, by God, he's dull. When you watch his press conferences, he's incredibly bland.
Or
Really uninspiring, I think.
he's it's like a chatbot has written his stuff. Yeah, can
Chat
you
GPT.
yeah, can you remember Ron Manager on the Fast Show? You might both be a bit
Yeah,
young for him, but yeah, oh, wonderful stuff. Back
marvelous.
back of the net, goalpost jumpers for goalposts.
Yeah, but he had personality. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
but that's Philo as well. It just well, oh yeah, all right, mate. Just
Behind the scenes, he could be different mind.
yeah.
I know he's highly respected and the boys love him, but I personally, I just find him so bland in
If
the media interviews. I
if
really
he
do.
wants to come out for a beer with us and we can find out exactly what he's like, and then
Oh, I bet he's a bit of a boy mind.
yeah,
I bet he's very different if you went for a beer with him. And behind the scenes, he could be. I'm just saying,
yeah,
media wise, media duties, very dull. Okay, so I want to move on from Warburton now because I've had enough of him. He's making my blood boil now. Abby Tyranny, she broke her silence last week. She was on the Scrum 5 and the Wales Online podcast. I listened to both of them, and the Scrum 5 one was by far the best because Lauren Jenkins is an excellent
yeah.
interrogator. She's really,
Yes.
really good at her job, Lauren Jenkins. And I felt Ben James and Steph Thomas, if I've been brutally honest, they pushed their three regions agenda, and I actually thought they were both quite soft on Abby, actually. That was my takeaways from the pod. But anyway, I'm just going to read out some of the quotes that she said from both pods. She said, we are absolutely committed to four regions equally, giving them all the chance to be successful, and that will grow the game. The funding is there, she said, so that isn't a reason to go down to three teams. Osprey CEO Lance Bradley, who's very active on social media, isn't he? Which annoys a lot of people, but fair play, he did say, we have the finances coming in to be able to compete with four pro clubs. So he's not coming out and saying that it should be cut. He's very much in favour. Tierney spoke about the problems with going down to three teams. She said it would take a lot of time and a lot of energy to do that, whereas actually I think we are better off focusing that energy on rebuilding for the future rather than getting into arguments and debates over which team goes. It sounds fair enough to me. The money that you take away from the fourth team will get redistributed, but so would the debt, and so would the current PRA, which includes clawbacks if there isn't delivery on the plan. So actually, three teams would not be better off than they are now. On the new PRA, we're going to have increased and fixed funding, whilst we are also improving the pathways. She also said that WRU would have to service 2 years' notice on closing the team. Personally, I think it'd be a lot longer than that because there would be legal action, and that's something
Yeah.
that David Wright of the Dragon said at the Q&A, which Gav was at. He said it would take significant legal costs to close a team, which is something that people forget. They think it's straightforward, isn't it? Okay, we're going to close the Dragons, and all the other regions will get more money. It's really, really not going to be as simple as that. And Abby has outlined that these are four independent businesses. What is the mechanism for the union to close an independent business? It would get very messy, very ugly, and very costly. That's the truth of the matter, but people don't seem to be taking that into account. Now, Gareth, I know you listened to Abby Tierney's comments on the pods. What did you make of what she said? Because she's had a lot of criticism on social media. And actually, can I just call out the people, the misogyny that's been going on? You know, criticize her for if you don't think she's doing a good job, but to criticize her gender and the way she looks, it's bang out of line. I called it out on social media. It's wrong. It's disgusting. Some of the comments are vile, but it's a tough job for her, isn't it? And I did feel a bit sorry for her, but actually, I thought she said some good things. What do you make of it?
Yeah, do you know what? I surprised myself, and I'm in her corner. I thought she'd come out. She dealt with difficult questions. Completely agree on. Lauren Jenkins is probably the best journalist in Wales by a long
She's so
shot.
good. She's really, really
Yeah,
good.
she's really good. It was a great interview. Really enjoyed it. I thought, yeah, Abby Tooney, she gets criticised for not making tough decisions, but when there's so many people in power and so much noise to make certain decisions, and she says no, that is making a difficult decision. She is standing on, she is saying we're not cutting a region. And people are saying, oh, you're weak. Well, actually, she's quite strong to make that decision and not just fold to some
Not to
celebrities'
cave into
opinions.
public opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Spot
Okay.
on. So that I think that's really strong of her. The WRU, as we know, has been run into the ground. It's an absolute mess. And whilst in sport, you always look at next week's result, it's not that quick a fix. She has to be given a bit more time. I do think there's been a couple of mistakes along the way,
Oh yeah.
especially a couple of things around the women's rugby. But again,
Gatland.
yeah, Gatland, there have been bumps in the road, but
Mm.
there's a lot more off the field that when isn't massively in the public eye in comparison to results. I do think that she's saying good things. I like the strategy of producing more players, concentrating on getting youngsters to a higher quality, keeping more youngsters in Wales. Can we improve that offering so we don't lose as many players? And if we do, what are we actually going to do to keep them feeling Welsh, essentially, to keep contact with them? I think she's driving Wales in the right direction. We all need to have, sadly, a little bit of patience. And when she touches on the regions, she's saying the funding's there. We know the funding's going to go up. Unlike some sources, it's not going to 6.5 or whatever next season. It is tiered over the next 4 years.
Mm.
Because I've seen a few journalists get that wrong online. So we are increasing funding. It was basically Project Reset, and it wasn't then going to be an overnight fix. We're now starting to build, and I think she has to be given time. Um, she's got some big appointments to make with the director of rugby and the new head coach. But I think everything she said about the regions, she was optimistic, but realistic. She wants everyone to have a chance to be competitive. And she's adamant with keeping 4 teams. For me, that should be the end of the discussion. And any noise is fair enough for people to have their opinions, but should not be coming from anyone linked to the WRU or a pro team in Wales. We should all be on the same view. One
Alignment.
Wales, yeah,
That's what we need. We need alignment in
we
Welsh
do.
rugby and
Yes, yes,
everyone working together, not board members coming out to call in for other teams to be closed. That's what we don't want.
yes.
Gavin, what were your thoughts on Tony's comments?
I do know what, boys. I've got a lot more to add to what you both said because you've absolutely nailed it right down. You know, the misogyny in some of the comments I saw.
It was awful. Yeah.
Absolutely absolutely dreadful. And also, like, blokes on the internet, you we don't need to know what you think sometimes, honestly. Sometimes it's easier not to share your opinion because no one really cares. And it's 4 regions now. It's 4 regions for the foreseeable. Just stop it. It's bloody dull. And you're right as well, Gareth. You know, the Welsh women's game was treated really, really poorly. But then I saw someone under one of the comments saying, "Oh, let's write. This is an open letter. You can send to WRU. You can see about profits for the Welsh women's game, and then let's find out what money they're making back for the Welsh game." I tell you what, boys, if you genuinely think rugby makes a profit, I'm going to show you some figures and you're going to have a bit of a surprise because it's not just a women's game that's not making any money.
No. That's fair enough. So the budgets are going up. It's 4.6, then it's 5.1, 6.6, 6.7, and 6.8. These are the figures that's in the Welsh rugby newsletter that I subscribe to, that Steph Thomas has wrote. Each club is permitted two marquee players above the cap. Academy players are not included in the cap. This is quite important. The WRU are also in the process of appointing a head of growth to raise revenue, which could be reinvested back into professional game and the pathway. That's a big appointment because that could be quite crucial to raising more revenue and get
So,
more funding into the pro teams.
sorry, the one thing I was going to say as well, my only thing that I'm a bit concerned about, and it's not Abby Turney's fault, but that potential shortlist for the director of rugby role.
Oh, goodness me. We
No,
spoke about this on Rap. Yeah. Kingsley Jones.
That was a bit
Yeah.
worrying.
Scott Johnson.
Oh, God. Yeah. James Shapman from the Dragons was on the list, which I thought was a bit strange. And John Daniels from the Scarlets. There were some very weird names on our list, wasn't there?
Well, I
Hmm.
I couldn't work out if I'd just fallen into some kind of slight time slip and it was 1999 and I hadn't noticed.
Oh, dear. So the figures that I quoted there, that now one of the criticisms, because we got to be balanced about this, right? We're not saying this perfect by any means, but we want four teams, we want increased funding, we're getting that. The question is, though, Gareth, a lot of people are saying, is that enough? Is 6.8 over the next 4 years or whatever going to be enough to really make us competitive? That's
Well,
the issue, isn't it?
yeah, and I mean, if you've got two marquee players on top of it, they could be, £2 million players, in theory. But I think where the argument fell down for me is, oh, well, that's what Glasgow have won the league on. And whether those figures were correct in the first place is one thing, but also how much are Glasgow going to be spending in 3 years' time?
That's the problem, isn't it?
Because
When
it's,
people say it's the same as Glasgow's, but their budget is not going to stay the same, is it?
yeah, theirs is going to
Forever.
keep going up. We don't want to be aiming to be where somebody is now in 3 years. Like we need to be aiming where they're also going to be in 3 years, if not beyond it. Um, so yeah, I think it's enough. I guess really it's how it's structured. What is classed as an academy player? Because where do players like Hugh Anderson sit, Ryan Woodman? Because they are down on the Dragons website as senior academy. So do they
Mm.
sit outside the budget at present? And then yeah, if you're spending on marquee players, it's a higher cap than the English league. So
What's this? 6.7, isn't it? And they allow two marquee
yeah,
players to say the
it's
cap, is it?
yeah, I think so. So well, I guess it's relatively similar then, really.
Hmm.
So look, if you think the WRU are bringing in a growth officer and they're looking to generate more revenue, be run like an actual business and pump that money back into the game, not
Yeah.
just on roof walks. And we've got investors that want to generate more money from Rodney Parade and put more money then back into the team, hence marquee signings. I mean, say it quietly, but it's almost exciting times ahead. It doesn't maybe feel like that.
Yeah, you want to say that very quietly,
Yeah,
I think.
it's yeah, it's
And uh, I think we have to be realistic though, Gareth, because I
yeah.
know what you say. You're unpicking what that budget looks like. It'll make us more competitive. It won't make us competitive because we aren't on a level playing field, which is the nature of professional sport anyway.
Is
It
it
is, yeah.
Benetton's 12 at the moment?
The plucky
Yeah,
underdogs, Benetton.
What's that going to be in
yeah.
3 years?
Leinster's conservatively 17 million. Munster's conservatively is 12. Glasgow's is considerably higher than any number that's been quoted. It's not a level playing field, but neither is professional sport as a whole, is it? Like, kind of,
No, that's sport in general, isn't
yeah,
it? Yeah.
Man City have a lot more money than Chesterfield do, because that's the nature of
Yeah, we
sport.
got to punch above your financial weight as well,
Yeah,
and that's the
yeah,
Yeah.
point. No, do the
absolutely.
Dragons do that compared to the other three? In my honest opinion, no.
No,
And
not
I'm
at the
being honest
minute.
now. I'm being
No,
I'm being honest here.
not at the minute. And you look at Zebra doing much
Yeah.
better than their financial position would suggest.
They almost
You,
beat the Sharks yesterday. They gave
yeah.
them one hell of a scare. I don't think we'd ever play like that against the Sharks in Durban. You got to give Zebra a whole
Oh
amount of
God, yeah.
credit, but their future is in doubt, isn't it? So that's why I want us to be like, I want to use the motivation of people saying, right, let's close the Dragons down, blah, blah, blah. I want people at the Dragons to go, well, let's prove them wrong then. Let's start winning some games, be more competitive. Have we got that in ourselves to do that, though?
I,
Is the
I
desire there?
Going back to something we spoke to a lot as well, right? Yes, I think we are well run as a business, but the problem is right now we do not have the play-in roster
Yeah,
to do anything other than what we're doing, which is struggle at the minute. And that's not criticism of players, but they aren't strong enough for the competition we find ourselves in, and we find ourselves in a very strong competition.
yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's competitive from 1 to 15, and like this us then at the bottom. I think we're like 18 points now adrift, the zebra.
You
My
know,
God, I never thought we'd ever be in that position. This has been a horrible, horrible season. And I didn't have high expectations for it. I think we both said 14th, didn't we, Gavin? We made our predictions. And even
yeah.
then, I thought, oh, might be a bit too ambitious then. But my God, I didn't think we'd be this bad. But it's really hard, as much as I want the Dragons to do well. And we've done a bloody good job of defending them on this pod, I think. It's really hard to defend a team when they lose week in, week out, especially when they just prove people right and the critics and the naysayers when you're losing every week. It's tough. I want Dragons to do their talking on the field because we had a lot of talk about how good it is off the field. They got to start doing it on the field now.
No,
The knives are out. They got to do it.
and we've said this a million times before.
Yeah, fair.
Nobody supports a sports team because of how well they run as a business.
No.
Yeah.
It's you support sports team because of what they do on the field, whatever sport, cricket, football, rugby, upside down netball, whatever it is you're watching, you want your team to do well on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. The COVID loans are being taken away from us in this new PRA deal. The loans that was never ours to begin
Yeah.
with. That's being taken away, which is really good at the WRU. Apparently, it says each club can get a little bit more funding if they meet certain targets as well. I'm not sure what those targets are. They're not implied in this email I got, but yeah, whether that'll be enough, I don't know. But I'm adamant I want 4 teams, and we need increased
Again,
funding. And
why is
let's
Abitini
see.
not getting any plaudits for like taking away the COVID loan that was lumped on the regions? Because that was such a big, big negative. But she's
Yeah.
right in that long. That's a big plus. I mean,
For
it
more
should never
control,
have
though, isn't it?
happened.
It's not, there are, it's for more WRU control. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you are right. I mean, a lot of people say, well, it's never our loan to begin with. We shouldn't have had it. That's 100% true. But yeah, they are being taken away, which will help, I think. Well, we'll have to see, won't we, if it's enough. But our position is clear. I want 4 teams. I don't want any team to be cut. And I think the WRU just need to be better in funding the game. They need to do better commercial deals. Like, for example, the commercial deal they did on the stadium with Principality. Now, that was for absolute peanuts. And then over the bridge in England, Twickenham, the RFU, they give their sponsorship to, is it Allianz? I think it's the Allianz.
Alliance
Yeah, that's worth 10 million.
10
Now,
million a
ours,
year. Yeah.
yeah,
a
10
year
million a year. Yeah, 10 million a year.
for
What,
6 years.
what's ours? And what's ours? It's peanuts, isn't it? I bet it's absolute peanuts. So that's an example of bad commercial
Do you know what?
decisions
Wasn't it
by the WRU.
2.25 million for 5 years? I think is the figure for
I'm
ours.
not sure. We'll have to look
Yeah.
it up. But
And
10 million a year.
in England's one for 10 years, so it's 100 million for 10 years.
It's 6 years initially, with
Oh, okay.
four additional years agreed at the end. But I think there's penalties if Alliance don't continue it.
Because I was thinking about it. I'm sure ours is up in either 2026 or 2027. It's pretty soon. And if you think the Principality holds basically all the same internationals that Twickenham does in the same
Mhm.
competitions, and they are hamstrung by how many concerts and all they can have at Twickenham because of where it is in Richmond and all that. It is Richmond,
Yeah,
isn't it? I think.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's between Richmond and Twickenham Village. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can have actually a lot more going on at the stadium, more concerts, which, global names go into. Is there any reason why we're not getting £100 million deal? And from the deal we're on at the moment, that is an outrageous influx of cash into the Welsh game.
Yeah. It
Well,
makes you think, though, doesn't it? Like 100 million England are going to get over 10 years for that.
I do get they're a
It's
bigger country than
crazy.
us, but as the stadium's used, we get all the same internationals essentially, and so we'd get just as big an audience, and the stadium can be used more. We should be looking at a deal in the same region.
But you can
I,
imagine 10 million a year, though, how it would benefit our pro teams. that would be transformational, wasn't it? Sorry, Gav, what was you going to say then?
Well, I was thinking Twickenham has a cachet, a different kind of cachet, and you look at the people who sell drinks at Twickenham, it's a different kind of clientele, like they have a very cliquey stand and stuff. Certainly don't have that in the Millennium, but you think you'd be able to negotiate something more in line with, with that than wherever
Yeah.
we agree. I'm trying to look up how much it was agreed for because I'm convinced it wasn't much.
From what I understand, I'm just looking online now. 10 million for 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And England's is 100 million for 10 years.
Wow.
See, this is what I mean. That money right now in the Welsh Pro game, well, in all levels of the game, actually, grassroots and everything, although we do fund grassroots rugby higher than any tier one nation, to be fair, but that would be transformational for Welsh rugby if we had that level of money. But that's what the WRU need to do. They need to be better. And hopefully this new head of growth guy or, female, whoever, they'll be good and they'll be able to get some
But
deals.
From what I'm reading, it's up in, sorry, Gav, it's up in
that's fine.
January 2026. Do you think that coincides with the planned increase in regionals budgets going up by about 1.5 million for the season after next?
Maybe. The only thing is, though, it's hard, isn't it? Because Wales aren't winning. So it's harder to
Yes.
attract sponsors. That's the only
Yeah.
drawback here, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Yeah.
yeah, and Allianz are multinational, and we
Yeah.
go for principality.
Building society. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. It'll be the Dragon Sign Stadium from 2026.
Monmouthshire Building Society is the new next one. Oh, dear.
Sponsored,
Okay.
The
sponsored
Dragon's
by
Lair
McCann.
Stadium.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Sounds good
well,
to me.
I'm on behalf of the pod. If the WRU were listening, I will offer 15 quid for a 5-year deal.
And in my
Okay.
T's and C's, I'm banning one ex-international, and that's it.
Brilliant. Right. Okay, then. That's that done. Um, let's do Gwent Rugby Roundup then, Gav.
Cool.
What's the latest? What's been going on?
Well, and nothing happened on Thursday evening. Nothing at all. Particularly in the Super Rugby Cup final or Super Rugby Cymru Cup final. But
Didn't happen, Gav, did it?
no,
Didn't
no, no,
didn't exist. Didn't happen.
it did not happen. No, but it did happen, as we alluded to at the start. And Llandovery are the SRC Cup final winners after a 39-7 win against a disappointingly underpowered Evervale side.
Yeah.
It didn't spark from, and the forward dominance, which has been the kind of the centre point of that Debo team, just
Yeah.
didn't happen. And Llandovery were much the better side, and fair play to
Mhm.
them. But league still late to be won.
Yeah.
In the SRC, Pontypool played Carmarthen Quins and won 42 points to 17. In the Premiership, Newbridge won 22-19 at home to Cardiff Met. In the Championship, a massive win for Bedwas as they beat Mountain Ash 90 points to 0. I bet those Mountain Ash boys weren't involved in during that trip back home after that. That must have been horrific. Glamorgan Wanderers a 29-all draw with Talawine. Good result on the road for Talawine. Penalta lost 24-39 at home to Beddau. Bryn Mawr's postseason continues with 32-10 defeat away to Treorchy. But in Bryn Mawr's defence, they did actually win the last of the week before, but back to the losing ways. And your boys Anistee 29-25 win against Rumney. Cardiff
Happy
locked our odds.
days. Up the D's.
Into Division 1, Newport High School Old Boys won 25-21 away to Bedlinog. Can't read my own writing there. Ablairi Blaenau Gwent won 29-14 away to Dowlais. A cracking game at Monmouth, where Monmouth won 65-20 against St Gennes. And also a cracking game at Pontypool United, where they lost 31-44 at home to Abergavenny. In the Division 2, Abercarn beat Usk 27-14. Blaenau beat Blackwood 22-20. Oh, absolute nail biter that. Caldecott 36, Risca 26. And another high-scoring game, Croeso Ceiliog 41, Gonde 5-27. And Pell Harriers v Cwmbran, an 18-all draw. Down into Division 3, Abertwysog lost 21-8 at home to Caerleon. I don't think there's two less alike places in all of Gwent than Caerleon and Abertwysog. I don't think
No,
they could be more different.
worlds apart, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Fleur de Lis lost 22.7 at home to Rumney, our Rumney. Machen 13, Shepstone 33, and Newpan Teg 21, Newport Saracens 31. Into Division 4, Crickhowell 7, RTB Ebervale 15, so at least one Ebervale side won. Crumlin 38, Ford side 28. Gwyneford 48, Bedwellty 15. Pontefraith 11, Betos 12. And then into Division 5, Blackwood Stars 3, Tredegar Ironsides 57. Haverford 15, Derry 50. And Hartridge High School Old Boys 42, Mago 32. It's a decent old tussle in Newport Derby. Into Division 6A, Girlin 13, Brynithel 24, and Division 6B, St Julian's High School Old Boys 7, Glencoch 35. And going into the Dragons Athletic League, Caldicott Geese 14, Monmouth Druids 26. So these are the second 15s of league clubs. Gwynedd Athletic 5, Pill Development 15-17. And a great weekend for NSD. The NSD Rats 26,
Yes.
Nelson Nomads 22.
Excellent. Good. Really pleased about that. Is that it, Gav?
That is it, yes.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Okay, let's talk about Saturday. What happened on Saturday? It was the last game of the season of Rodney Parade for the Dragons in March, which is just mental. It finished Dragons 30, Ulster 34. Probably the best 40 minutes we've seen so far under Philo Tiatia. Unfortunately, though, rugby is an 80-minute game, and Dragons have absolutely no idea how to close out the game from a winning position. And look, we can't fault the effort and the spirit. And in fairness, this was a much improved performance, especially from Glasgow and Munster games. But it's still another loss. It's the same old story. Gavin, I'll come to you then. So Philo said we lost the game, but it was a game we shouldn't have lost. He's right, isn't he? This was yet another missed opportunity by the Dragons. How many times have we said that this season?
Well, we can't shut games out.
No.
We can't close games out. I'm usually going to go off on a tangent. I'm a baseball fan. And one of the highest paid roles in baseball is what they call a closing pitcher. Now, a good closing pitcher might only throw 18 pitches in a game, but their job is to be unhittable, to come out in the last innings, and be unhittable. We don't have that closing pitcher mindset. We don't have a mindset which goes, we are in this position. We are now going to do these things, which means we're going to win this game. We play rugby in the wrong part of the field. We make poor decisions.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking individual players out, but there are positions on the field where your decision making is key.
Yeah.
And we just lacked that in those key positions on Saturday at key points in the game. And yes, probably should have been a red card for Rob Herring.
Yeah.
I think it should have. It was
Yeah.
upright, head on head, no dip. There was very little mitigation.
No.
I thought very lucky to get away with that one personally.
He smacked Screech in the face, with his shoulder and his head. He should have gone off. But then I would also argue we shouldn't have been trapped in our own 22 for 10 minutes at the end of the game. I would also argue that we should be taking kickable penalties. I'll also argue that when we're on top of a game, we should just really shut the opposition out. So, we lost that game rather than Ulster winning it, personally.
No, I agree. Me personally, look, I don't like singling out players, right? But I do think if we had an experienced goal kicking 10, we win that game. And
Agreed.
unfortunately, going forward, I don't think Will Reid is the answer at 10. I've always had question marks about his game management and his goal kicking, particularly at this level. It's really frustrating me when I go and see Newport and he's playing for Newport over in Spitty. Those kicks he missed, he's nailing them. He's nailing them in the SRC for Newport, but down Ronnie Prade, for whatever reason, he can't quite nail it. And I think he'd probably be better off just spending a bit more time with Newport. I mean, this season now, he is going to have to see out the rest of the season because we've got injuries at 10. But I think he could do with just some more game time and development at Newport, to be perfectly honest. But I'm not saying he's the sole reason that we lost, but those key moments like that penalty hitting the post and then moments later putting a kick out on the full, those are coach killers. Those are coach killers. So it was just really disappointing. We are crying out for an experienced goal kicking 10, and we just don't have one at the moment. Okay, Gav, let's come to you then. View from the terrace. What did you
Oh,
make of Saturday?
what a first half. I was loving life. I think I
What
messaged
a
you in the
first
week.
half, yeah.
It was that I was having the time of my life. I messaged you in the week. I had tickets to the Wales football and I was trying to work out logistically. And I just thought, "Oh, I'm going to have to go at half time. And that's my plan. Meeting my mates and all on the train, no problem. Half time comes. I thought, I am not leaving. This is awesome. We're on fire. The crowd's getting into it. I turned to my dad. I was like, I'm not going. Let's have a pint. And he was like, no. He was like, go, leave happy. We won't see it through. And I was like, no.
He was right. He was
Yeah,
right.
he was spot on. I was like,
Yeah,
no, I'm staying. And it was awesome. And I did enjoy it because it felt like it's been really tough over Rodney Parade this season. And the last few home games have been poor, very poor. It's not been enjoyable on the terrace. But this game, we did perform well and the crowd were really into it. We even had Ashton Hewitt, Shane Lewis Hughes giving it a bit of come on to the crowd, giving us a bit of encouragement, and I like that interaction. You know, you
yeah.
you want to back them. Felt like we were part of it, and for 40 minutes we were great. And Nyron Owen was just something else. That kid is quality. And then yeah, we just can't see the game out. And yeah, the missed kick, compounding the error kicking the ball out was almost worse than missing the kicks. You're just like, oh, don't
It
compound
killed us
errors.
at such a crucial time in the game. That really killed us from Will when he did that.
Yeah, that was a massive, massive blow. And you just think, yeah, we do need a high percentage kicker because we haven't got the luxury to miss kicks. We are going to be in games next season that are going to be tight, and we have to nail our goals.
Yeah.
So that was really frustrating because up to that point, I actually thought Will was really dangerous, and he
Well,
played.
that's the thing. I'm not saying he had a bad game. I actually thought he was pretty good. It was just those missed penalties and then kicking the ball up like that. It was the errors, not so
Yeah,
much this whole
yeah.
game. He wasn't
I,
He
terrible.
played quite
it,
flat to the line as well, which was good.
Yes.
He looked
well,
dangerous.
I like that element of his play. You're right, though, Gareth. The issue is that we haven't got the luxury of a play of having a player like that who isn't quite complete. You know, kind of because he is great in space, and I do love some of the right lines he runs. He's a dangerous runner. The problem is we don't need that. We need somebody who's going to kick for territory, kick posts, and bring our other players into the game as well. And he doesn't do that consistently well. Well, whilst he does do other bits consistently well.
Yeah, it's not the answer move. Well, the results speak for themselves. We've lost too many games over the last few years. We have been crying out for a 10. Yeah, again, you couldn't fault the effort from
No.
all of the players. I did think it makes a difference. You watch when we had three locks in the squad who were of a decent caliber. Scrum goes better as well. Bit more power and weight behind them. Um, I really enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed going
You
over.
enjoyed another agonising loss.
Do you know what I did? I thought we played well. We played good. We scored good tries.
We did
Hugh
score some lovely
Anderson
tries.
is
Yeah.
worth the money just to go and see him. He's,
So,
he's
did you
quality.
not get to the football?
No,
It wasn't a great game anyway, was it? So,
Yeah,
no.
but
I
Wales won.
yeah, they did.
We did
They
win.
did.
I stayed in the ground for as long as possible, clapping the players at the end, and then made my way to the pub to watch the football.
Sounds good to me.
So it was
Yeah.
happy days, but it was a good game. We did play well, and I think some of the individual performances, which I'm sure we'll touch on, were really strong, and we
Right.
we actually moved the ball.
So, am I being glass half empty here, or are you being glass half full, Gareth? Is do we say there's green shoots there, there's positive stuff? That's all right. Don't worry that we didn't
Oh
win.
well, no, if it was a one-off, yes. But
Yeah,
sadly, it is same old story.
Yeah.
Um,
that's five
It-
games this season. 5 games this season,
yeah,
which we should have won.
yeah.
it's not acceptable to only win one home game all season when you buy a season ticket. That's just not on. I mean,
No.
I'm sure the owners would love to be upping season ticket prices because essentially, if you're keeping them the same, you're losing money on the year before with inflation. But they can't put them up because how could you possibly charge more when we've only seen one win?
You're in the terrace, aren't you,
Yeah,
Gareth? Yeah. How much is your season ticket?
190 for the season, which I would say is good value. But if you only win one game, I've paid 190 quid for one celebratory beer after a win. That's not great value.
Well, it's not, is it? Like,
No.
it's
No. My ticket costs a lot more, but I'm in the Bisley stand.
yeah. You're in the good seats.
I'm eating prawn sandwiches in the Bisley stand. So yeah, I'm
Uh,
paying good money and I'm seeing, well, I've seen one win. It's
Yeah.
not acceptable. Not on a
No,
serious point. It's not acceptable at all. Um, some people are just going to go, do you know what? I can't afford to pay this anymore if we're not winning. There will be some people question what's the point, and I don't blame them. Obviously, we need people to keep renewing their season tickets, but I understand the frustration.
But
people again have said that on the terrace to me that
Yeah.
they're not. There's a group of well, I've talked to quite a lot of guys on the terrace because there's so much space now. You can sort of mingle because you're
It's
not
sad,
jammed
isn't it? It
in.
shouldn't be like that. I
It's
remember
not
it used
like
to be
that.
jam-packed in
I
previous
went to
years.
get a beer and someone said, "Oh, you're back." That was quick. I was like, "Yeah," because there's literally no one there. Like it was just like
And
it
the
was
queues are normally terrible over that side. That's the
yeah.
worst side
So
over in
it's
the
that that's a
Basil.
worrying sign, especially at that time on a Saturday. People are normally, having a couple of beers. But yeah, there was a group of lads who said, "Look, we're not coming back next season. Decisions made."
Yeah,
Um, that
I don't
that's
blame them.
frustrating. And I don't blame people. It's been a tough season. The amount of times I've left and just thought this it hasn't been enjoyable. But there was moments yesterday that I did enjoy. At one point when we were winning, and yes, we did go early, but we were all chanting, "Are you watching Warburton?" Was very enjoyable on the terrace. All right, we blew our beans a bit quick, but it was it was still fun at the time. And look, if you're a Dragons fan, you've got to enjoy every moment.
Yeah, 100%. It was a good crowd there yesterday. It was just under 6K. Lovely weather. I thought it was a really good atmosphere, actually. Even the South Stand, there was people sat in the South Stand, which is
Yes.
very unusual. Now, when I go
Yeah.
to Newport County games, that's where they put the away fans in
Yeah.
the South Stand. But it's very unusual to see that amount of fans in the South Stand
it
for
was
the
sold
Dragons.
out apparently. You couldn't get
Yeah,
tickets in the South Stand.
yeah, it was good to see. It was a good atmosphere. Um, yeah, it's the same old story though, isn't it? So me and Dad were debating this when we left the game, and I heard a couple of people mention it as well on the way out to the stadium. Why did Dragons drop off in the second half? Why can't they continue the good work they do in the first half? And if you think about the games we lost against the Sharks, we were 22-5 up at one point. We should have beaten the Lions. We were ahead. Cardiff, we were 15-5 up at half time. Um, Montpellier, we should have won that. Obviously, Poe, we should have won as well. We was in the winning position. This is another game. We were 10 points up at half time. What is it? Why can't we put in an 80-minute performance? Is it mentality?
It is. It's mindset. I don't
Yeah.
think it's fitness. Fitness is something to do with it, but it's mindset. It's like going back to my comment about closing pitches in baseball. We do not have a mindset that allows us to think we're in this position, we deserve to be in this position, we're going to win.
Okay, I'm going to read to you what Philo said after the game. He's been talking about fatigue again. So you remember he was talking about fatigue after Zebra and players when they were blowing out their asses after 48 minutes? Well, he's talking about fatigue again. So he said the growth area is around fatigue. We let teams back in, and that has been consistent in our game from pre-season to now. We have to keep working really hard, individually and collectively, to fight through. And it's down to mentality, he says. That's an area to keep working on. I know what fatigue looks like, and in test matches, there aren't many stoppages, and it's down to fighting through moments where there is high ball in play time. What do we think about his comments around fatigue yet again? And it is interesting to talk about mentality. I do think we are mentally weak. I know that sounds really harsh, but I do think
No,
this
I
team is
agree.
mentally weak, hence our results. But he's talking about fatigue again now. It's becoming a bit of a theme. What's the thoughts on that?
Uh, Isn't that his job? Well, isn't his job to make sure our players are physically prepared to play professional rugby?
Mm.
Well,
Gareth?
Yeah, we could see we were blowing against Zebra. I didn't feel like we were blowing on the
no,
weekend.
No,
no,
I didn't think
Um,
we looked unfit either
no.
against Ulster. No.
there's 100% there's a mental block. Sometimes I feel again it comes back to like we don't play smart rugby because we try hard in everything. Is it because we're poor? We're going to absolutely bollocks it this week in training and work hard. Like, do we have any legs left for the weekend? Because we're training so hard. I don't know, but I think it is a mental block. You could see again that even when we were winning and they were kicking off to where Dragons were receiving in front of the terrace where we're making loads of noise before they do the restart. And the players
Yeah.
are looking over some of them, and they almost look a bit like, bloody hell, what's going on? We're winning. Like,
But this is what I talked about before. I talked about this on the previous pod. We're not used to being in winning position. So when a team that loses week in, week out fight suddenly finds itself in a winning position, well, that's totally alien for them. So it must be
yeah,
strange. And they've got no experience of winning, no experience of closing the game out, have they? So
that's
for the
it.
players, it must be a bit, oh, we're in the lead, boys. What do we do now?
Yeah, we were all shocked and excited, and they genuinely looked the same. You're like, oh, come on. But then you did see towards the end, there is a change in body language when we go behind. I think they went ahead on like 70 minutes.
Mm.
They, there's no reason why you can't still go on and win that game. We
No.
had been arguably the better team for the majority of that game. We can still go on and win that game, and we just there is that block that we just know we won't do it. And I don't know what it is. And I don't think, even though I'm happy with the signings, that half a dozen signings or however many is going to change that because we sign 10 players every year.
It's not
We
going to change the
we
mentality if
we
they sign
bring
a
them
bunch of players.
into the culture and they
Yeah.
they get their mind poisoned by it.
It likes to get sucked
Uh,
into the mediocrity,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So I've worked in education 27 years, right? And one of the things that was really drummed into me by my boss when I worked in Multi Academy Trust is to say kids will do what they see. Wherever the
Yeah.
behaviour is like when a kid starts your school, that's pretty much the way they'll go. So ensure there's positive behaviour culture so kids will behave well. Players come into our club and see that we lose. The
Yeah.
kids are doing what we see. There's our mindset. It's not sharp enough. It's not aggressive enough. It's not focused on winning. And they do what they see.
But
Yeah.
how are we going to change it? How did the Dragons change? Because, like you said, Gav, I don't think you solve this by signing a bunch of players, right? I think we need to do more. I think this problem is more nuanced. This is psychological mindset. So, how do the club, and I know they listen to this pod, how are they going to change that? Do you start, you have to bring in coaches, don't you, from a winning environment? They're going to have to start bringing in people who understand what it takes to win and maybe educate these players and try and give them confidence. That's how I would approach it. But
Uh,
how do we do it?
but you look at cycling in the UK.
Yeah.
Dave Brailsford took over, and cycling was a minor sport, and we get the odd Olympic medal. And for 2 decades, Great Britain has been the dominant force in professional cycling because he came in and just like apparently the first thing he says when he took over was, "We're just going to win things, and if you don't want to win things, this isn't the culture for you. This isn't the place for you." And brought in high quality coaches, brought in this idea of into infinitesimal gains to create. But the starting point was we are going to win gold medals everywhere, every form of cycling, and that's again, and we're going to dominate professional cycling. You need somebody who's just going to come in and do that, and not say it with lip service. Say, and these are the ways we're going to do it. Just absolute focus on. And you don't get that from Philo, do you? It's just, oh,
No, you don't.
you
No.
want somebody who's just going to say, we're going to start winning games. Yeah, we aren't going to win the URC, but we're going to win 6 games this season.
Well,
But you,
Uh,
oh
it's
no, yeah.
definitely not a bringing in the players thing because
no,
if you look at not to use football, but if you look at Wales football, Craig Bellamy's come in. He's talked about he wants to top the group. in the World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
Wales haven't lost a game under him. We were in absolute shambles before.
No, it's true. Yeah.
It's the same players. If anything, he's got a slightly worse squad with some of the players getting older and retiring,
Mm.
Yeah.
and we look 100 times better. So, like, well, we do need a bit more depth and quality in the squad, but why do we always talk about, yeah, well, we're learning, we want to get better? No, what? Let's talk about winning. Let's not hide away from it. We're here to win games. Philo needs to show that that is our goal. We are here to win rugby games. Everything else going on in the background can happen in the background, be taken care of by other people. Our goal needs to be win games of rugby. And I just don't get that feeling that sometimes I feel like we're there just to get a little bit better every week. Well, no, get better enough to win.
I agree. I
And
absolutely agree.
if you'd like think of someone like Lauren Price. Lauren Price is from our region. You know, kind
Mm.
of
Yeah,
Lauren Price took up boxing and said, "I'm going to become world champion. I'm going to win the Olympic gold medal. I'm going to win it, and I'm going to become world champion." That was after her first session. You know, she's a phenomenally skilled athlete, but that was also her mindset. She just went not with, oh, if we could come 14 for the URC, that'll be good enough.
But
It's
no one in the squad has that mentality, Gav. The players don't have it. The
no,
coaches don't have it. This is why we need to bring someone in, don't we, from
I
the outside?
totally agree with you. We need
Yeah,
somebody who's, going to be Dave Brailsford. There's going to be Lauren Price. I'm going to
you're right.
say, this is what we're going to do now. And they need to be someone from a rugby background because they can back it up. But they go, yeah, and it needs to be realistic. But so unless we win 6 games next season, we have absolutely failed to reach our target.
Six
And
games. I mean, it's not even being,
it's
grand with our
it's
predictions, is
it's
it?
not
I
like
know.
winning the URC, is it? It's not like saying, but somebody needs to come and say, we're going to win 6 games. I don't care.
Reach for the
And
stars, lads. We're going to win 6 games,
but
like,
that's
don't
a,
we?
but we haven't won 6 games in the league in the last 3 years. So
Yeah.
so
yeah,
I
Oh, yeah.
think that would be very ambitious. And then once we've done that, it'll be like today. I took really scratch side to a festival, our under 11s team, and I'm just going. We're going to win all our rucks this game. We're going to do this game, and you just build up. And by the end of it, even though we lost every single game, the boys were buzzing because they'd hit their individual targets. Set those. Just be really competitive and stop accepting thrown away leads.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? So we beat Ospreys on the opening weekend. Then we had the South African teams. We should have beaten the Sharks, should have beaten the Lions, should have beaten Cardiff, and we should have beaten Ulster. We could have 5 league wins this
yeah.
season. We should have five. I look, we can
Totally
all play
agree.
this game of should have, would have, could have. Other supporters are saying the same. But we haven't been, yeah, there are some games where we've been completely blown away and been hopeless. But those games go away from us. They were from winnable positions. We could very easily be sat, saying 5 wins, that's a good season. But instead, as Ira Owen said after the game, how good has he been, by the way? I feel so sorry
Yeah.
for that. He was
Yeah.
outstanding again. He's becoming an unsung hero now and really developing as a leader.
He was
He
top
said
top draw.
we don't win the key moments, and he's right. He knows that.
He was
He's a
really
smart
candid
kid.
in his interview, wasn't he?
He's
I
a
thought it
smart
was
kid. Yeah,
really good. And the annoying thing is, though, like it in those close games towards the end, it is down to key moments, and we actually produced some. We had that turnover under our own sticks.
Dylan Keller Griffiths. Oh, how good
Yeah,
was he again? For full
Yeah.
80 minutes, this kid, mind. So he came in, late change. Martinez pulled out. Solid as scrum time, lively round the loose. And that crucial turnover when Ulster were camped on our try line, that was a key moment. He was great, wasn't he?
yeah. Well, you can see he's going to be a great option behind hopefully Wyn Jones and Rodri next season. He
Yeah,
looks really great, and that was a huge moment. He gets a big smile on his face as well. Like
yeah.
absolutely loving that. Watched it back this morning. It's like so we know we need to win those big moments, and we actually did win some of them, and it's just still don't find a way to get the win. And yeah, it is mentality, and it's not just kicking, is it? Because you've also got 80 minutes to build up enough points to win a game. It's so frustrating.
I,
It's
it, if if a win in a game comes down to one decision, 1 point, then you haven't done enough to win the game.
yeah,
No,
If it's we could have won if we'd done that. Well, you haven't done enough to win it because you have to win the
exactly.
game. It can't just be, oh, if I'd done this or done that. No,
No,
we
it's
hadn't done
a fair
enough to
point.
win that game.
No, it's a fair point. In
I
that
think
interview, sorry, Gareth, in that interview you just
Well,
talked about with an Iron Owen, he was talking about like the key moments. And the worrying thing was, he said in this post-match interview, we talk about this every week. And I just thought, oh my God, they talk about because they Astra Mullock must be so miserable on a Monday because every week they lose, they come into training. Because I think Harry Keddy said in the week, oh, when you have a win, it's a better atmosphere, better environment in training. The boys are smiling. It must be grim as hell at Astra Mullock because they have to go in, they're on the back of a loss, they have to review what went wrong in the game. But it's the same problems. And I even said, we've been talking about this for weeks, and they still can't do it. They still can't nail the key moments. They're mentally weak.
just to clarify there, Jamie wasn't criticising Astra Monaco as a town.
I was, but no, I watched the tour. They've got very good Tesco's up Astromedic, and the hospital YYF as well is very good. I will say that.
But you're right, though. And imagine going into work, wherever your job is, and you're, oh God, we had a terrible week last week, didn't we? And doing that every Monday.
It must be so grim in training. It must be really disappointing.
I did feel sorry for him when he said because he looked like, oh, for God's sake, didn't he?
He
And you're
did,
like,
yeah.
and he was class, and you're like, oh, just want to give him a hug and be like, it wasn't your fault, mate. You were awesome. Like,
I know. I love an eye. I love an eye. I really do. I
we
like
do
to get him
lack
on this
depth, though,
pod.
don't we, as well?
Yeah, I
Because
want to try and get him on this pod. That's what
I'll
I'll
be
have to get.
class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I'll have to get in touch with the Dragons and because he is really good.
He's
Um,
what I want us to be about. Homegrown, gives everything for the shirt, and
He's
plays
always
with the rest
battered,
of
isn't
us.
he? Every game, like you see his eye, or there's blood, or there's a. Have you noticed that he looks
Yeah.
absolutely bollocks after every game because
He had a
he
fat
gives
lip this time,
everything.
didn't he?
Yeah, it's always his eyebrow, his nose, his lip, blood coming from
Yeah.
him. He gives everything. I love Nairo Owen. I really do.
All our good moments, he's normally involved, isn't he? Apart from
Yeah,
like Hugh Anderson, I think we have to say what a game he had.
I
He is.
know.
I've watched that try. No, actually, sorry, Rodri's try back so many times where Hugh
The
Anderson
line he
makes that
cut.
break.
I know. So good.
Just he makes it look so easy.
Hmm.
Just the
Yeah.
pace on him when he has that 2-on-1 and puts Rodri away. He squares up the last defender as well, and he's like, "That's what." Like literally what kids are coached to do, but he actually did it. And obviously at the Dragons, we don't always do it. It's just, yeah, great to watch. Really enjoyed that. I know he got caught running out from his own line, but to be honest, I don't think that was down to him. We should have cleared the ruck, and then we still should have then made the tackles when the prop picked it up. So, dear me,
That
I did
sums it up,
enjoy it
doesn't it?
though. I did enjoy
Ah,
it.
dear me. That sums up every Dragons game they've
Yeah,
been to at Rodney Parade or watched on telly. Ah, dear me. Okay, so next up is Edinburgh away on Friday night. Edinburgh coming off the back of a narrow loss out in Treviso, so they're going to be quite pissed off. They're going to look at us and target 5 points. Let's be honest about that. To make things worse for us, Matthew Screech and Chris Coleman both went off for HIAs and they didn't return, so it's highly unlikely they're going to be available. I'm not going to spend too much. It's been a long pod. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this game. I've got a horrible feeling about this one, and I hate to say it. I think the Dragons are going to get pumped on Friday night. Do any of you have any hope or optimism that we can take the positives from the Ulster game and be competitive up in Edinburgh?
No.
Simple as that.
Because we're awful away from home,
We're
particularly on
very, very
Friday
bad.
nights.
We're not
Yeah.
good at home, and we're awful away from home. Yeah,
yeah,
there we are then.
I think,
Gareth, any
yeah. I'd agree.
optimism?
I think we gave everything on Saturday.
Yeah,
Yes, we did fall short. It's frustrating. But watching it, being that we did give everything, I appreciate the effort those players put in on Saturday. But I don't think we're going to back it up on Friday. With the injuries mounting up, we have had rotten luck there. Well, actually, you
yeah.
get so many years of bad injuries. I wonder if it is luck or something else. Um,
Mm.
It's the second, I'd say.
yeah. So yeah, no hope. I'll watch it. Ruin my Friday night, and yeah, cracking.
Yeah, people have not taken into account our injuries as well, because we have been absolutely hammered. We got a small squad. We haven't got the depth for the other regions or any other team in the URC. When we have a lengthy injury list, it really does hurt us. Um, I think it's going to get horrible on Friday night. Pete's saying it, but I just can't. I can't see anything other than
But
a comfortable Edinburgh bonus point win.
the challenge as well, if you like, when you share the things on the Twitter account, and it's like, oh, these many dragons playing for Ebervale, these many dragons for playing for Pontypool, these many dragons playing for Ebervale.
Mm.
And the reason, because we're having to bloody beg, borrow, and steal to get a side out some of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Our injury list, it isn't going down, is it? It's just ever increasing and it's so frustrating. And like you said, it can't be luck because we've had this issue now for a number of years at the Dragons. It can't be bad luck
It's
all the time.
it's
Something's going on.
it's conditioning issues. It's lots of
Yeah.
other things, and the fact that we keep insisting on signing no, the non-existent fictional players.
Yeah. Or injured or crop players.
And it's got to have an effect just losing all the time as well. Like if you've got a niggle, are you bouncing back because you're desperate to play on it in Edinburgh on the weekend, or do you know what? I'll sit it out. We're going to get smashed
Yeah.
anyway.
But what's the
Oh,
motivation now as well going forward? We know we're going to finish bottom. We're well adrift.
Yeah,
We know players are leaving at the end of the season. I think we will raise our game for the derbies because we always, improve for the derbies, don't we? Unless it's Cardiff. Although
yeah.
we do play well against Cardiff, but again, we just don't have the mindset to close them. No, it's
It's a
us
shame they didn't
losing
give us
rather
the
than winning.
the leavers list, mind, ahead of Saturday. I know we got Judgment Day, but
Yeah, but if you remember what David Wright said at the Q&A, say he doesn't want to announce any players leaving yet because he wants players to give their all until the end of the season. That's what he said, which I
we're
can
losing
understand.
anyway as well.
I know, but none of the other regions have
No,
released their leavers list, so I think it's maybe a wee bit too early to do that. I get what you're saying, but I could also understand what David Wright said as well.
yeah,
He wants players giving everything now to the end of the season. He said he wanted them playing for contracts, but we know there are certain players moving on.
yeah. No, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot to mention as well in the new signings news, we didn't talk about Josh Thomas, who was signed from Cardiff
Oh, yeah.
RFC, who did not come onto the field on Saturday. And I've seen that being a bit of a talking point among supporters, because when Will missed those kicks, why didn't we bring on Josh Thomas? I mean, no idea if he would have done any better or whether it was a bit too soon for him, but I wonder would he get any involvement up in Edinburgh on Friday? It'd be interesting.
he's
He's done
he's
very
an
well for Cardiff, apparently, in the Super Rugby Company.
yeah, he's an emergency signing, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty
He's a,
much, yeah.
Throwing
he's
him into a big high pressure situation
yeah.
Saturday.
He,
Don't think that
he
was the answer.
he's a professional equivalent of when I convince a mate of mine who's never played rugby to come and bench for us when we're playing the other side of Sussex.
Fair enough. I just thought it was an interesting topic of discussion, because a few people said, why didn't he come
Yeah.
on? But I can understand why he wouldn't have done. Okay, I think we'll call it a night. That's been a pretty long pod. We've had a lot to say. I'm sure some people have their opinions on our opinions, but we're just being honest. Those are our views. Like I said, Welsh rugby, there's never a dull moment, is there? There's never a
No,
dull moment.
no.
Gavin, Gareth, thank you both for joining me. Really appreciate it. And thank you to our friends at Riverside Sports Bar for their continued support of the podcast. By the way, I did have a Wigan kebab the other week when I went to watch a county. They're doing Wigan kebabs. Do you know what Wigan kebab is, Gav?
It's a pie in a bap, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It's bloody lovely. It
Yeah.
filled me up for a long time. I absolutely loved it. So get down Riverside Sports Bar if you want a Wigan kebab. I highly recommend it. So yeah, thank you to them for their support. We'll be back soon to survey the wreckage of the Edinburgh game, no doubt. But thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ta-ra.